She had a great sense of humor, a great sense of style, a great sense of who she was.
She had an energy about her. You just wanted to gravitate towards her.
She was definitely a life of the party.
Kristen actually helped her family at a time when they were desperate to help her.
She was a very strong woman and brave.
It's now 2.5 decades since I met Kristen, and yet I recall some of those conversations as if they were last week. Here I was, already twice her age, and yet there was very little doubt who was in charge of the consultation. She had a tough time and several operations, lots of treatment, lots of side effects, and yet she still managed this ability to stay in control.
What we realized was that people of that age group were often isolated.
When Bruce used to come, or other people would come see her in the hospital, she'd say, "Oh, there's a boy down the hall. He's a big fan. Go see him." And I think that's what I think about every time we try to make a wish come true. That all comes from her.
I remember my first meeting with Barbara, and it was soon after Kristen had passed away. And it was so important to Kristen and to the entire family that patients have more than just medical treatment.
What I remember about the start of the fund was that when Kristen learned more about the type of illness that she had, her doctors explained that very little was known about how to treat it at that time. And one of Kristen's first responses was, well, we should do something about that.
Somebody had to step up and say, this is important. This group of people is important.
In cancer, when you're a young adult, no one expects you to have it. It's never top of mind. It took me 8 months and 4 doctors and 1 physical therapist. And finally, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a rare type of bone cancer. After I finished my treatment and I met Dave and Barbara, they were the ones who sort of told me, there's a lot of people like you, and they're the ones who helped me think about young adults and cancer. And they really had faith, and they gave me the seed funding to start Planet Cancer. As a young adult, you approach cancer in a totally different way. You have different issues, you have different considerations, like, am I going to be able to have kids? Or is anyone going to want to ask me out if I'm bald? The Kristen and Carr Fund is really important because they see the need, their emphasis on young people. It was started by young people. That's who the Kristen and Carr Fund is.
Probably 15 years ago now, Barbara decided to set up a concert for Wynton Marsalis at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And I thought, why can't this happen all the time? So I started by setting up some appointments for some of my music clients to go in and perform. Then one night, a nurse came and said, there were 2 patients who were too ill to be here, would you go to those rooms? And we did, and what we saw after that was magic. And when I went back to Barbara and Dave and said, we have this great opportunity here, Dave very wisely said to me, we want to support you, and it's going to ultimately be bigger and different and need to have its own life. And the Kristen and Carr Fund births Musicians on Call and continues to support it in a meaningful way.
My work has focused on the treatment of the sarcomas that are common in young patients, children, adolescents, young adults. The only way that we can do the truly new, the truly innovative, is to get support from philanthropic organizations like the Kristen and Carr Foundation. They have an incredible track record of success. They have supported efforts that have resulted in real differences for patients.
Sarcoma pathology is widely recognized as the toughest pathology there is. And that's the reason for the lab. That's the reason for Sam Singer in general. That's the reason for starting to work now with pathology and Christina Antonescu.
I'm a sarcoma pathologist, so I'm trying to identify molecular markers in sarcomas. I wanted to use my knowledge to understand the biology of the disease.
So you need some people who really have the expertise. The only way to get the expertise is to have the commitment. And the commitment is not something you can buy.
One of the reasons that kept me and really drives me in treating patients with sarcoma is actually the patients themselves. I think it's a very unique group of patients in dealing with this very unique disease. So the Kristen and Carr Fund really play different roles for me. One is it's a tremendous story. I think it adds a personal touch to sarcoma. It also raises tremendous awareness, and that's something that also motivates us as physicians.
The Kristen and Carr Fund has been a great thing. They've supported my research. And for young attendings, that's really an amazing opportunity to have a foundation like this.
The important thing is that sarcoma is out there. It's talked about. Did Kristen Carr have a lot to do with it? Yeah, she did have a lot to do with that.
It's a wonderful tribute to everybody that it is 20 years. I mean, I've been really thinking about that, and I think that it's because we have such incredible support around us.
For me, it represents still having my sister in my life, and just to see the many people that this fund has touched who Kristen never met, but to have people tell me, I feel like I know her. To me, that's such a gift that I get to see that and feel like some part of my sister is living on.
I miss her hugs. I miss her love. Sometimes she would tell you like it is and it would hurt, but that's what made her Kristen.
Dave and Barbara were adamant, along with Sasha and Elise and Michael and all of us, that we should honor the memory, honor the night, have a great sort of glorious, fun event. But it started out very humbly. We were all young, and everybody who came to the event was young.
The things we do have kind of evolved into everyone, you know, growing up and getting older, and she's, you know, led us on that way.
We have people who have been with us from the very beginning who knew Kristen, and then we have a whole host of people who have joined and gotten on this train at various stops.
She understood that there were other people stranded on the same island she'd been left on, and that we could build a raft and get at least some of them off. We have more than one fellowship. We have an entire laboratory. We're involved with medical oncology as well as surgery and pathology.
What we've started doing, bringing different doctors and different researchers together. We did one of the first sarcoma symposia ever in the country.
The sarcoma update goes out to over 3,000 people. You don't have to pay for it. It's something the Kristen and Carr Fund is able to provide. It's a really valuable resource.
I'm very proud that we've been able to raise the amount of money we need to do all the work we want to do. It doesn't mean that we don't need more every year. People have been very generous with their time and their money.
One of the remarkable things about looking after people with cancer that we forget about is the gifts that they, the patient, give to us. If I had half the courage that people like Kristen had, I'd certainly be a better person.
If Kristen could see this, she would be really proud.
If anything, she would, you know, have a bunch of notes for us about how we could make it better.
I think she'd think it was really cool. I think she does think it's cool.
The awareness and the knowledge of sarcoma is vast, and I think that is a legacy that'll last forever.
I'm living proof that there have been advancements and there has been progress. I'm grateful for that every day.
Now, more than 60%, probably closer to 70% of all patients with sarcoma are actually cured.
We've all dedicated our lives to fight this, and it's something that's on my mind 24/7.
Those she left behind, Dave Marsh and Barbara Carr and her family, turned her tragedy into something to help other people. And that's continued. I mean, it's been a remarkable story.